and welcome everyone. It's very exciting to have this day happening. And as Mel was acknowledging country, I was thinking of the recent Gama Festival. And I'm reminded that the word Gama, which is a Yolngu word, means, in simple terms, a two-way learning process. Or as they more beautifully describe it, as the place where the salt water meets the fresh water and foam is created. So drawing on that inspiration, I hope in some small way today we can achieve that two-way learning. I hope that you will have a better understanding of what is happening at the ACNC and also at state, territory and international levels. Of course, we and other regulators here will learn from you. I know we'll all do our best to answer your questions. So welcome. I know that over 500 people registered today, which is a huge response. So thank you for making the time. I'd also like to welcome my fellow regulators. Thank you for giving your time as well. And also ACNC Advisory Board members, ACNC Advisor and Sector Forum members, and more broadly to all of you who are involved in running charities or other not-for-profits in whatever capacity. And we're at the ACNC really excited to think of all the many parts of Australia that you're happily watching from. And I hope you've got your cup of tea and you're enjoying your virtual table. I just wanted to put some opening remarks to sort of set the scene for today. What do we know about registered charities? What trends are we seeing from the ACNC's data from our 10th annual report that we released in June this year? Well, what we see is the number of registered charities has remained fairly stable over a decade at just under 60,000. About half of all charities are entirely volunteer run, and the number of volunteers has gone up in the most recent period to 3.5 million. But the sector is also a major employer, employing about 10.5% of Australia's workforce. When it comes to financial resources, registered charities receive nearly $14 billion in donations and bequests. And annual revenue exceeded $200 billion for the first time. That said, there is a cost of living crunch becoming obvious for charities. We saw that expenses rose at twice the rate at which revenue grew, and that this cost of living has been felt unevenly across the registered charities. It's been felt, it seems, most keenly by the 63% of charities that are extra small. That's those charities with annual revenue of less than $50,000, which I'm sure you'll all understand is not much. From my own experience of working in the sector, being on charity boards of various types, and from what I've heard from more than 40 speaking engagements that I've done since starting my role 18 months ago, I understand that there are some significant pressures on the sector. To name a few: insurance, the cost and difficulty of obtaining insurance for various risks and in various locations. The competitive labour market, including recent wage growth. Pressures on the volunteer workforce. There's changing patterns of volunteering, people not perhaps returning post-COVID, and others, because of their own cost of living pressures, being less able to give their time for free. There's greater demand for services, often with new and additional cohorts of people needing help. I sense a feeling of regulatory overwhelm, and that people might understand why individual reforms make sense, but it's the sheer volume. And in this situation, I always imagine how my father would have coped as a volunteer treasurer. And beyond our shores, the global context and issues, from the issues of delivering aid in conflict zones to cyber attacks by malicious actors. We as the ACNC team constantly reflect on how we can make a difference for the public and the sector in this context that I've just outlined. So how does ACNC core business, registering charities, getting them to report key information, and getting them to comply with basic standards of good governance make a difference? Well, we work to stop precious donated dollars and government funding being misused. We support transparency and good governance, which means it's more likely that services will reach those that need them in a more efficient manner, and also that donors will support charities. Having an accurate register is at the core of this work. And recently, my colleague at the Irish Charities Regulator shared the results of a survey that they'd commissioned. And I was interested to learn from that the link was demonstrated between when the public have awareness of the charity regulator and charity regulation, that there's a greater chance that the public will engage in informed giving practices, including checking the register of charities before donating. And last year, we had an even bigger push on growing awareness of our charities register for this purpose. There have now been, in 1 year alone, over 8 million searches of it. And we're certainly determined to keep growing that awareness and that number. But public trust and confidence is not easy to measure, even though I think probably we all have a sense of what are the types of activities that will dent public trust and confidence. In very recent Australian research, there are a couple of headline figures that I thought I'd share. First, the Community Compass research by 89 Degrees East, which was released in July, just a month ago, found that 7 in 10 Australians believe the world is a better place because of the work done by community organisations. There were other findings in this very interesting report that I commend to you, including that many Australians value community organisations and want to be more involved, but are unaware of organisations they could join. Again, I think the Charities Register is a good place for them to start, for those wanting to become involved, and for charities to use the register as a way to show their bona fides with updated reporting. The second very recent research was the annual Roy Morgan Net Trust Score for Australian charities. And that was also just published in July. The Net Trust Score as of March this year showed an increase of over 50%, continuing what seems to be a building back from what was a decline in the mid-2021. And this means it's now nearly back to its record high that it was the case in June 2020, which I'm sure you'll all remember was the early days of the pandemic. So while these headlines are mostly encouraging, I'm not claiming responsibility for the good or the bad, as the correlation is not clear and direct. I'm just assuring you that we recognise the role we play as part of the ecosystem. As a team, we are here because we want to work for the public good. As public servants, my staff understand their ethical duties, and I know each of them sees the ACNC's role as making sure the public can have trust and confidence in those charities on our register. Because without this trust, charities will find it harder to thrive, to attract and retain staff and volunteers, to grow donations and giving. My team know that I'm always saying that public trust and confidence is our North Star when we need to balance conflicting interests. I just want to conclude by reflecting that it's not all about the numbers or the surveys. There is enormous social significance. Charities continue to be at the forefront of the big social issues. Environment, education, housing, ageing, disability, closing the gap, domestic violence, impacts of issues like cybersecurity for young people, and on it goes. But charities are not only at the front line, they're also the rear guard. They support and grow social cohesion, reduce isolation, and reduce loneliness. They prevent many of the frontline issues. And at the ACNC, we're here to support charities. We want to support the work that you're doing. So again, I hope you'll find today enjoying as you hear from ACNC leaders, from other key players in the charities sector, and also from government regulators and some sector bodies. And I certainly am looking myself forward to an afternoon of two-way learning. Thanks, Mel.